Yo, what's up? I had so much more energy before this. I was literally singing in the shower, and now I'm I've lost energy. Okay, I'm back. I'm energized. I just did some dishes, and so where did all of my energy go? Y'all, taking videos is hard, man. I'm so pumped up, and then I put these headphones on, and then I'm dead. But I have to have these headphones on. Say that 5 times fast. Um, because there's trains and cars and everything outside. So for your ears, I'm gonna have these headphones on. But I'm loud. Turn the volume down. We're gonna get into it. Let's talk about a book that I read earlier this year, the first one I read actually, which is called Show Your Work. Now, this book is probably the sole reason why this YouTube channel currently exists and why it was started. That's a very heavy thing to say at the beginning of the video. I know, I get it, but it's true. So, before we even get into the book, I want to talk about a little bit, just real quick, about how I found it. And it was from a different YouTuber called Ali Abdal. And I've been watching his stuff for a while, so I just wanted to put that out there. I wanted to give credit because the way he explained the way he explained what he got from the book really resonated with me, and I thought, okay, let me just give it a try. You know, what's the worst that could happen? Because I don't read books like this. I don't read productivity books, self-improvement books, all those things, right? I read fantasy, young adult, sci-fi. Like, I don't want to read how to be better in this world. Put me in some other world. Put me in something completely different. I don't want to do anything else in this world right now. I'm busy. So this book single-handedly changed the way, in my opinion, how my 2022 was going to go. Because going into 2022, I generally try and set not goals, but trends per year of like, what do I want my year to look like? And that can be anywhere from I just want to continue consistent training. I want to continue financial literacy. I want to continue um, movement based practices, things like that, right? Calisthenics, dance, rock climbing, whatever it is. Or it can mean things like, I want to start reading again, hence we're here. I want to maybe put myself out there more online, hence this channel, things like that, right? It's not necessarily like a goal of like, I want to do this, right? Like, I want to make 50 videos this year, done. That's like a more specific goal. It's measurable, it's calculable, it's smart. But for me, it's more so I just want to get started and then, keep it going. So Show Your Work did that for me. And I've shared this book a little bit with friends of mine who I think would really benefit from reading it. One of them actually told me yesterday that he's been getting a lot from it, that it helped him kind of be more secure in the decisions that he's thinking about making, because initially he wasn't sure that the way he is, I guess, the way he thought he wanted to do certain things, he didn't know if that'd be good or okay or appropriate. But given after reading this, and I don't know what those things are, by the way, but given after reading this, he said, you know what? No, I'm gonna go for it. Shout out Canvas. You, my friend, are a winner. Um, so, getting back to kind of the effects that this book has on people, I think everybody can benefit from reading at least one of the chapters in this book, because each chapter talks about something different, but the chapters in themselves, which is why it's a book, kind of go together. Surprise, surprise, the chapters in the book go together. The main thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of each chapter in the book. So before I get to that, I will let you know. So if you don't want to be spoiled on it, or if you do want to kind of know what's in the book before you read it, that's perfectly fine. We can talk about it. So this book is written by Austin Kleon. Now, this is not his first book. I believe this is maybe his second or third book, but it is part of like a trilogy. The trilogy being I don't know. I don't think it's in this book because I think this might have been his second book. But his first one was called Steal Like an Artist. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Steal Like an Artist. So basically, I haven't read that book, by the way. This is the first Austin Kleon book I've read. But Steal Like an Artist was his, I think, his first one went um, that went nutty on the New York book selling. What's it called? New York Times best selling. Yeah, went nutty. Um, but I might read it. My buddy, the same guy who I lent this canvas, shout out. He said he might actually grab Steal Like an Artist too. So after he's done, I might borrow it, and hopefully maybe I can get him on here too to talk about this one and what he thought about Steal Like an Artist. Let me know if you want to see that. But given that this book, Steal Like an Artist, his third one, which I forget what it's called, research time, Steal Like an Artist, and it's called Keep Going. 10 ways to stay creative in good times and bad. So he has Steal Like an Artist, which is 10 things nobody told you about being creative. He has Show Your Work, 10 ways to share your creativity and get discovered. And then he has Keep Going, which is 10 ways to stay creative in good times and bad. I think, honestly, I might actually read all three of these this year. I think I might actually read all three of these this year because I'm really, with how good this one was, I might really benefit from the other two. Um, but yeah, so really set me on my goals for the year. And I'm not someone who sets yearly goals like that anymore because to me they're not effective. But after reading this, I thought, okay, let's reframe how we think about goals, trends, things that we want to do, and then maybe we can actually achieve something in the year, you know? So I think this is a really good book, definitely worth a read for anybody. When I got this book and I let Canvas borrow it, the day after I let him borrow it, I just ordered my own. And I messaged him, I was like, bro, keep it. Because I think it's that important of a book that he should have his own copy. I have my own copy. If you want to borrow the book from me, let me know. I will lend it to you, or I will just send you a copy. I really think it's that good of a book, which I generally don't say things like that. Most of the time, books are decent, good reads, whatever it is. But this was a really good read, and if it helped me in what I thought my deficiencies were in terms of the way I think about things, the way I understand things, the way I interpret things, it was really amazing for me. I think it'd be amazing for other people as well. But just know if I end up lending it to you, you might get a text in the next day or two of like, yo, just keep it. I might just get my own again. that might just be what I do. I might just lend it to people thinking like they have to give it back, and then I was like, nah, keep it after like a delayed amount of time. But yeah, that's gonna be it for my overview of the novel, which I mean, I don't think I spoiled anything necessarily. So if you still want to read it without getting spoiled, maybe click off the video or put it on mute and have it on the background because I would really appreciate your watch time. But if you do want to stick around for kind of the chapter to chapter kind of, not analysis, but talk or discussion, then that's about to start. Okay, so we're going to go chapter by chapter just to kind of talk about, why I felt the book was very effective and very, what's the word for it? Effective is the only word that I can think of right now, so we're just going to go with effective. So, chapter 1. I'm not going to read everything to you, by the way. I'm just going to show the table of contents. Chapter 1, you don't have to be a genius. So I think this is a big demotivating factor for a lot of things when it comes to people wanting to put themselves out there, because a lot of the times you hear just on the internet, because you're putting yourself out on the internet, or maybe even just in your circle, oh, you don't know, why are you talking about this? Oh, you don't know anything about this, why should I care? Right? That is a trend / a theme around here. But I think the thing that people fail to realize is, unless you're a genius, which there are very few of those in the world, everybody had to learn it on their own to get to where they are, to where they can talk about it. And so at some point, everybody was a beginner, everybody was just newly introduced to a topic or anything like that, right? And so it's okay if you want to share what you do and your experiences without being a genius in them. It's okay to say, I don't know, but I find this interesting and I want to learn more. Come with me on this journey of learning more. I think it's going to be really fun to go on this journey together with my friends who are doing similar things and just kind of sharing with you guys what I'm learning as I'm doing it. Windows has a free video editing software that I did not know they had. It's just called Windows Video Editor, and that's gonna make my life initially so much easier. Thank you. I used it on the last video, and I was like, wait, this thing exists? Thank God I had to get like Adobe or whatever. Because I don't use Photoshop, I don't use Premiere, all that stuff, because this isn't like a full-time thing yet. But coming back to the book. Next, think process, not product. So that one's interesting. And it's hard to describe that. But basically, he talks about taking people behind the scenes, right? It's not just about showing people, hey, here's my finished product. It's about how did I get here? Where did I go to get here? Who did I talk to? What videos did I watch? What blogs did I read? What softwares or what things that I utilize to help me get to this end product that you're seeing, and share that with someone else. Because 9 times out of 10, it's the process that a lot of people would also benefit from and be interested in, and not just the finished product. Next is sharing something small every day, which kind of leads into chapter 7, which I'll talk about in a bit. But sharing something small every day, which sounds daunting and sounds like you don't want to do it, right? You don't want to spam the internet. You don't want to spam your friends. You don't want to spam people who are following you, either online or in person, right? You don't want to, maybe you do, maybe you talk to the same people every single day, maybe you don't, right? I try and talk to some of the same people, some people different every day, and I also try and just talk to somebody every day. And then I try and bring up topics that I've learned, whether it's in the news, and books that I'm reading, and shows that I'm watching. I'm very, what's the word for it, guilty of sharing just the anime that I'm watching with my friends. I'm like, oh, what are you watching? Oh, cool. It does not have to be world news, right? It can just be, dude, I saw this show the other day, check it out. Or bro, there was this funny clip the other day, check it out. Or bro, I read this. I say bro a lot. Apologies. I was reading this book and there was this really interesting excerpt from it. What do you think? That, I think in and of itself, is something everybody could benefit from, because we're all in different experiences that even if we share a small bit of it every day, periodically, someone else could benefit from, but also someone else just could like watch it or listen to it and think that was a nice little break I got from my own life. Things like that help other people out a lot. Now, the concept of every day does not sit well with me, because I'm just so afraid of human spam. So I try and share something small periodically, frequently, but I have been able to hit the everyday thing because I'm sharing it with different people. I think that's a way to kind of bypass if you're one of the people who doesn't like to share things with people all the time because you feel like you're sharing the same thing over and over again to the same person, you're boring them. Share it with different people. That will then get you started on thinking about, what do I want to talk about with people today? Who do I want to talk to today? What can I tell them today? Maybe you just, talk about your day with somebody. That's perfectly fine. The fifth one is tell good stories. Storytelling is so hard, dude. I'm not a literary professional. I did not go to college for literature, English. I went to college for accounting. Don't click off the video. Don't do it. But I went to college for accounting. Like, I'm not any sort of like literary professional. I don't know how to tell good stories. I know how to tell stories. Whether they're good or not is subjective, which I'm still laughing at, because so in my high school, we had this concept called FPS, not first person shooter like everybody else in college thought it was. It's called future problem solving, which is like a scholastic event where they basically give you a futuristic world topic and you go into a room and in 2 hours you create an elaborate scheme to resolve a problem around that topic. It's that's the most basic way I can put it. It took up my entire middle school and high school life. Um, but within that FPS kind of scholastic event, every year our English teachers would have us write short stories. When I tell you a short story, it had to be less than 1,500 words. 1,500 words. 1,500 words. So, when I tell you that somehow this guy's short stories kept getting chosen every year. This is not a flex, by the way, because this is nothing to flex about. Every year, my story kept get one of my because they choose like a couple of students per class per grade level. So this English teachers would always choose my story, and I was like, why? This is not good. I'm just doing it for the grade. It is already above 1,500 words, because basically they make every student in the class do it, and they choose good stories, and they tell you edit this, revise this, get it down to acceptable level, and then we'll submit it to the board. And so I've taken 1,600, 1,800, 1,900, and 2,200 word stories and cut them down to 1,500 word short stories. Mine never won, but it always got sent to state. And I to this day don't know why. Because I think back to them and I'm like, this story was awful. This story was awful. And they were always sci-fi. They were always sci-fi because I was just a sci-fi dude. I always read sci-fi stuff. So I had like a marine setting one. I had kind of like a desolate land, I think, setting one. I had a more kind of not apocalyptic, but like combat war oriented one. And they were all awful. But it worked. I'm here now. I'm telling the story, and maybe hindsight 2020, maybe that was for the better. My sister is the actual literary of the family. By the way, she's a journalist. Love her. Always looked up to her and her storytelling and her literary prowess. Is that the right word? If you're listening to this, I'm so sorry that I involved you in my videos. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Chapter 6. Teach what you know, which kind of leads back into the open up your cabinet of curiosities things. And when you share things with people, teach them what you're learning. Because at the end of the day, somebody probably taught you, and you're just paying it forward by teaching someone else who could be in your same position. You don't have to be a genius to teach someone else, because the way you just learned it could help someone else just learning. When you have those aha moments, you're like, oh my God, I finally understand this. And it took you so long to like get it, you could help someone else not take as long to get it. It's hard to think like I should teach what I know to someone, because you don't want to come off as a person who's like, oh, you don't know it, so let me teach you. You don't want to come off as condescending in any way. You don't want to come off as overbearing. But at the same time, sharing that little nugget just connected you to the person, and now they have that nugget to then grow themselves and then share it to someone else. Chapter 7. Don't turn into human spam. Don't turn into human spam, which leads right back into share something small every day. Share something small every day that's kind of new or novel. Novel as in new, not novel as in books. When I learned that novel was a phrase that could be used in the same two different meanings for the same word, I hate the human language. I hate the English language. Don't turn into human spam. But I try and put something out every single day, just because that gives you an opportunity to connect with someone online. Whether it's someone who responded to your Instagram story, somebody who replied to your tweet, they saw something and then texted you. Like, shout out to my boy, Jay Caston, who texted me after my first YouTube video, and we hadn't talked in a bit. But he just texted me saying, dude, I think that's great that you're doing that. Like, I'm here for it. And that was big. You know, we hadn't talked in a bit, and me putting a video out and that on my Instagram, you know, we started talking again. And so not turning into human spam, but still keeping up that I want to share often mentality is a really tricky thing to navigate, but it's definitely doable and it's definitely effective. Stop spamming, but start sharing. I'm so good. Okay, chapter 8 is one. Chapter 8, 9, and 10 I think are the hardest things for me, which I think are hard for a lot of people. So chapter 8 is learning how to take a punch. And so basically saying learn how to take critiques, internalize them, but don't cry over them. I have a hard time taking criticism from people who I don't feel like I've recognized them in that regard that they can give me criticism. You know, it's kind of weird to think about, and it's something I'm trying to change. But I take criticism from people who I see you're knowledgeable, you know what you're talking about, and what you're saying is actually good criticism also. That's also a big thing, right? Like, if it's not good criticism, why am I listening to you? That's also an easy way to think about it, is learn to take the punch. If it's not a good punch, just brush it off, right? If it's a good punch and you felt that, okay, well, think about it. Okay, well, how can I not take that punch again, you know? How can I dodge it, or how can I like guard it? It's just what you got to do. Chapter 9 is sell out. Selling out is a weird topic because it's just a controversial topic to certain people. At the end of the day, it's what are you doing and how are you selling out, quote unquote, right? Selling out basically means, for those of you who don't know, selling out is a concept on the internet where you take money for things that maybe your audience isn't about, you yourself aren't about. Like, you don't play these games, but you're a gaming content creator, you don't play these games, but you're doing a sponsored video for this game. The idea behind it is you're not truly using the product, you're just doing it for the money. And that's okay. Last one is stick around. Sticking around is probably the hardest thing because sticking around involves consistency. Consistency is the hardest thing for me because I lose interest periodically in things. I'm not consistent in training because I lose interest in my training regimen at that time. I'm not consistent in training for dancing because sometimes I just don't feel like dancing. Now, there are people who push through that and keep training and they get better and it's fine. I'm not one of those people. I'm very inconsistent in things that I do in my life because I just, you know, I lose interest. And if I don't want to do something, I don't want to do it. That's really, at the end of the day, I just don't want to do it. But that being said, when it comes to something like this, sticking around is so important because if you don't stick around, how can you expect your audience to stick around? You know, I think of it like that. If you yourself aren't sticking around, how can you expect someone else to stick around with you if you yourself don't want to? So at the end of the day, it's really just about being there, being visible consistently, not constantly, not spam, but consistently, every day, not every day, consistently, periodically. I think is the best way I think about it. Is like I just need to be consistent, but I don't need to do this thing every single day. And those 10 chapters right there is why, or are why, I think this book is very effective in how it turned on certain switches in my brain that led me to this channel and other goals that I have that I'm working on for 2022. So if you guys want to read this book, let me know. I will send you a copy, 100%. But that being said, thank you for listening. It's kind of a long video, but I like to talk, like I said, I like to talk about books. And so if you're just here to listen to me talk about books and have me in the background, I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and I'll catch you guys next time.